What's up, movement, and welcome back to the IMAGO series. Today I'm super excited to have with me Brandy and Jordan, and we are going to be talking through a ton of questions that you guys sent in. So the first one, it's really good. It is, if you could have any condiment come out of your belly button, what would it be and why?
Brandy, you first.
Yeah, Brandy, I feel like you're gonna have a good answer.
So like none is my first thought.
Nope, not an acceptable
but
answer.
then my second one would be Chick-fil-A honey roasted barbecue.
Ooh, I didn't think about Chick-fil-A. Polynesian's good, but I think comeback sauce, if that counts. You can put comeback
counts.
sauce on everything.
See, I'm a big breakfast guy, so I'm gonna go, and I really like pancakes, so maple syrup for me.
It's gonna get sticky.
That's sticky.
It is. But yeah, I love y'all's answers though. I think those are solid for sure. So we've been in this series called IMAGO and talking about identity. And I think the first question that I thought was really, really good was, what does IMAGO even mean?
Okay. So, I mean, just at base is image. And so Timmy kind of unpacked that whole IMAGO Day principle of like us being created in the image and likeness of God. It's just a simple answer.
Yeah, I think that's great. And kind of going off of that, when we talk about image of God, I think it can be really confusing for students maybe of what does that mean? Does it mean like God has blonde hair, blue eyes, or is it kind of like his character? Brandy, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a great question too, but yeah, definitely not the first thing. So God doesn't look like this because for one, he's perfect, and you know, we're pretty awesome, but we have some imperfections, but it definitely means more of we have the characteristics of who God is within us.
The next question is, this one's a little bit more about relationships. So this person said, how do I know if a person I'm interested in dating is pursuing the Lord?
Ooh.
Feels pretty easy.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, and you kind of answered it in your womanhood talk. I thought that was really good. But so, you know, some key things like you want someone that is submitted to Christ. And so what that looks like is in a production of fruit, like the fruit of the Spirit. And Brandy read those for us, but it's love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So
Nailed
if
it.
those things are produced and coming forth from their life, then you have a good idea.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we're not all going to be perfect at those things. Like I'm not always patient, but you will know because a person is going to show that more often than not, you know, and then they're going to have a repentant spirit when they don't do things that are, you know, of the Lord. So if you're not seeing those things, run.
Somebody needs to write that down. So you guys are both married now. So take us back to you're maybe engaged or you're dating your now spouse. How did you know, or what characteristics did you see in your now spouse that gave you confidence?
Oh, I love this question. If you have ever met my husband, I mean, he is literally the picture of all of those things. Like, I don't know, I could not.
Tall, dark, and handsome.
That for sure, but also just the most joyful, godly, loving person that I think I'd ever met. And so it was really, when they tell you that you'll know when you know, you'll know. You really will.
You know?
You know?
And it is weird, like we say that all the time, well, you'll just know when you know, and there wasn't any just like huge flyover banner or sign saying like, this is it, you know, but at the same time, it's like, no, I knew.
Yeah.
And it was a reflection of those things that I saw in her life, and a lot of those that I didn't have myself, and how like she, I guess kind of we worked together, but she made me better in a lot of areas.
God, that is so important.
And just a lot of the things, we were a team, like we worked well together.
Yeah. I can remember when Whit proposed to me, part of what he said was, I do believe that our ministry can be stronger together than it would be separately. And I don't remember much else that he said, but for some reason, like that really stuck with me because I think that's true. Like that's the goal. You're looking for someone who is going to bring you closer to the Lord, and where together as a team, you're going to bring God more glory than you would separately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. What I'm kind of taking from that is, as someone that is single, is you know when you know, because you know the person's character There's
Yeah.
not this huge sign or
No.
whatever it may be that culture tells us we need to look for, but when we look into the character of that person, we can have confidence.
Nailed it.
That's awesome. Ooh, this is a good one. And we're going from married to single, so this question's gonna help us with that. Everyone around me is in a relationship, but I'm single and I don't want to be. What would you say to that person?
I don't know how to. Quick way is it's just enjoy that season, and it's hard to say work on that season. And so what I mean in that is first and foremost, we have to have, even as a married person or when I was dating, I had to have my relationship with Christ up front. Like ultimately we are submitted to Christ. I'm submitted to Christ, my wife is submitted to Christ, and then there's a submission and love for one another and well. But in my singleness, I'd say one thing I didn't do well was just preparing for marriage, preparing and using that time and just freedom even to ultimately submit to God, to further learn and grow and love Him. And so it just wasn't a priority in my life. And I'd say begin there, like with you and your relationship with Christ.
Man, I remember being in that season, like graduating college and thinking like literally everyone is getting married but me. And it's just not true. Like, I just think that's one of those lies that Satan uses to make us feel less than, because I do think that you have such an opportunity for some amazing ministry when it is just you. Because look, marriage is amazing. Having kids is amazing. But it does bring a little more of a burden sometimes, and not in a bad way, but it's different. Like, I have to process everything I do through other people now. Like, can I go overseas on a mission trip right now? Well, maybe. I gotta make sure that my husband would be available, that it's good for my kids, that they can go. When I'm single, I can do and go anywhere. And so I just think it's such an awesome time to really pursue the passions that the Lord has given you. And so I understand that desire. It is so hard. You are not alone. You are not the only one. And just like see what opportunities God has put in front of you and just take advantage of it while you can.
Yeah, I love that. And just in singleness, you do have so much freedom. Like today, if I wanted to, I could probably leave the country. Like,
yes, as long as you got that passport,
yeah,
let's go.
Yeah, and two, in singleness, you have that freedom. And you also have a lot more time to devote to the Lord. Yeah. And so in that, there's just so much opportunity for good. Plus, in high school and middle school, statistically, like we're probably not going to marry the person we're dating. And so
it's a very small chance.
Yeah.
There's a chance, but it's pretty small.
Yeah. And so I would say someone in high school, because I mean, I think even now in my singleness, I've had those seasons where it's like everyone around me is in a relationship and I really want to be. But in high school and middle school especially, like that can be really tough, but use that to develop really good friendships, I think.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is a good one. I really like this. What does a godly man look like, and what does a godly man look like in a relationship?
Well, Gray spent a lot of time in that. Maybe not the dating specifics, but I think it's it's someone that is submitted to Christ. So you're submitted to God, and the fruit of the Spirit are seen in your life, and so that carries right over into your relationship. Timmy gave us that great kind of picture of marriage from Ephesians 5 a few weeks ago, and the first and foremost thing in marriage and in a relationship was that they were both submitted to God, right? And so it's, hey, as a man in my relationship, sure, I love my wife and I'm submitted and sacrificing for her above my own needs, but at the same time, God is up front and He is at the center of it, and so making His name great, glorifying Him, His commissions, His commands are the lead in my life, and I think it carries over into dating and even marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think something we can talk about too is, or maybe it's a question beneath these questions is, well, one is, what does a godly man look like? And then what does a godly man in a relationship look like? Do you guys think that there's a difference in those of like, does a godly man change when he enters a relationship?
I hope not.
No.
Something is wrong if you change just because you're in a relationship. Yeah, a godly man, like to put it very simple, hey, middle schoolers, high schoolers, a godly man is someone who is spending time in the Word, who spends time in prayer, and who treats others better than they would take care of their own selves. Like, very simply, that is the basis of what your life should look like. And if you are doing those things, the rest of it's going to fall in line.
That's great. I think we should move on to the next question with that, because I definitely don't have anything to add that's better than that. Ooh. And I think this is something Gray mentioned in his talk with men, is that pride can be a big trip up.
Yeah.
And so how do you handle pride?
I mean, in general, or are you like myself?
For a man or for everybody?
Man,
For everybody.
for everyone.
I think, well, I'm asking that question because I was thinking like, hey, I think that I struggle with pride a good bit, and it can come about in sneaky ways. Like, we think pride is just like standing up and like beating on our chest, like, I'm the best, no one's better than me. But it can come in like the sneaky ways of where I'm thinking like, hey, I deserve that, or I should have that, or the shoulds and deserve and those kind of thinking, like, I have to catch myself. And we talked about this on Sunday night too, like about capturing our thoughts. Like, you have so many thoughts and you think that you're aware of what you're thinking about, but you're really not. So like teaching yourself to like kind of slow down, and when you start to feel like weird in your heart, like I physically feel it sometimes. Like, if I feel anger or anxiety, like I feel it all in my chest. And that's when I have to like start thinking, okay, like what is going through my head right now? And it's almost always some kind of prideful thought of, I deserve this or I should have that. And it's not true, you know? So, or even if it is true, trying to think about it like, you know, how does God see that other person? Or maybe there was something I could have done better or differently, and really analyzing and not sitting in those thoughts. That's what I have to do.
That's so true. And I was just thinking, like, specifically for me, and just something I have to do is shift the perspective. And so when I get lost of this world of like, man, this is my job and my marriage, and like it's all here for me and my good, and how can I look good and be successful, then I'm usually struggling, not doing very well just in my walk. But so like shifting my perspective to see, I guess, an eternal perspective. Hey, what are we here for? What is God wanting me to do in this season? What is just my daily steps? What do they look like? And am I doing them? And so that usually will lead to me seeing a lot of prideful areas in my life when I just look through the lens of an eternal perspective.
Yeah. So what I'm kind of hearing is, one way or a couple ways we can combat our pride is just prayer. It's going, man, whenever I have this thought, I can go straight to prayer, or I can go straight to God's word and hear about who he is and who I am and who he thinks others are.
Yes.
I love that. And I think an idea too that I've just been exposed to lately is that pride, one way it can sneak in for my life is I can take a too low view of myself to where I'm maybe not beating my chest, but I'm always thinking about me.
Yeah.
Always thinking about
That's
me.
so true. Like just being so selfish in all of our thoughts. Yeah.
I was thinking that the other day, that like I was in the gym and I was like, why are there so many mirrors in here? I was like, these are this is the most like self-centered, prideful people, and that's what we want to see. We want to see ourselves and our gains, and like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not worried about the other guys, and well, I mean, you are in the comparison trap, but there's just mirrors everywhere because we're prideful, sinful human beings.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about what a godly man looks like. So what does a godly woman look like?
That's easy. I'm just kidding.
Please tell us more. I don't know. You know, I think there's almost a trap in thinking that a godly man and a godly woman look different, because really at the heart of it all, like we all look as much like Christ as we can. Like, we're all striving to have those fruits of the Spirit, but we can't do that on our own. We have to have Jesus, you know? And so the more we are following after him and in the word and in prayer, man, woman, child, it doesn't matter, the more we're seeking after Jesus and let him work through us, we're all going to look the same, and we're all going to begin to exhibit more and more of those fruits of the Spirit. Like, there's no magic answer to that to me. We just begin to look more like Jesus.
I think that's a great reminder that most of Scripture, like fruits of the Spirit, Great Commission, those type of things, it doesn't say, and the men shall go, and then the women shall go. It just says, you shall go.
Yes.
I think we kind of hit on it a little bit of comparison trap and how just detrimental that can be. And so with that, how do I tell the difference between peer pressure and encouragement?
First thing that just comes to mind is, so if it's your friend or so-called friend that's asking or encouraging you to do something, it's what are they asking you to do? Is it biblical? Is it rooted in Scripture? Is it sinful and of this flesh and world? And so I think that's a big first step, is just identifying, hey, what are they pushing me toward? Yeah. Is this something that's going to glorify and edify Christ, or is this something that is going to deter me and lead to sin?
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that better.
Yeah. Well, I think we have time for one more, because I think Jordan killed it with that one. And so we've talked about kind of a lot, and some of it will impact kind of our beliefs, hopefully. So now that we kind of know these things and we maybe have some tips to live it out, how do we stick to what we believe throughout our daily life?
I think for me, it involves two different things. Discipline and accountability. So discipline meaning, like, I have to make it a habit. I have to make spending time with the Lord part of my routine every day. It's not something that I can miss. And then I can justify missing. That's where the accountability comes in. Like when I have other godly people that are surrounding me that are saying, hey, tell me what you learned today. Have you been spending time in prayer? And it's okay to say, no, I haven't been, but that accountability pushes me to go back maybe later that day or the next day, or, to just keep going to not let that be something that I just totally forget about.
Same for me. I was going to say spiritual disciplines were the first thing that comes to mind. Like when you say daily, I think that's something we often overlook too. It's like when we're asking the Lord or when we're going to the Lord, it's for our daily bread. And it is I have to remind myself of that often, that it is just daily, and it's discipline. It's a discipline, and we often hear that in a negative context, but it's not always easy, even for us as church staff. Probably it's a discipline sometimes to read and pray, and then so accountability for me as well is key. It's having some people, some guys in my life to look in, and as iron sharpens iron, to call me out on some things, but also just to hold me accountable in disciplines.
Yeah, to encourage you. And not peer pressure you.
Correct. Yes. And just of the spiritual disciplines lately, I think I get lost in, or not lost in, but I downplay the power of prayer, as I guess the easiest way to put it. I'll get lost in my head and just, I don't need to pray. I don't need to. And then, I don't know, just seeing over and over again the power of prayer here recently.
Yeah, I love that. Discipline and accountability will take you a really long way to help you stick to what you believe and what you know you want to do. Brandy, Jordan, thank you guys for hanging out with me today.
It was awesome.
And Venture students, thanks for joining us. And obviously there's a lot of these questions we could have talked the whole time on just one of them. So if you have more questions about one of these, make sure you find one of us or your group leader or whoever that may be. And we'd all love to talk to you more. And we will see you guys soon.